I'm an addict. My name's Earl. I want to thank everybody that didn't slam and slander the traditions when they were read. Instead, you gave them the respect they deserve, and I appreciate that. NA appreciates it. When we first get clean, a lot of times, some of us meet some people that are real beneficial in us staying here. And the first three people that I met in California were Peppy, Jimmy K., and Bob B. I believe in that order, I'm not sure. But someone asked me if I'd introduce him because I've known him the longest of anybody here, and I don't know if that is true or not, but after somebody asked me how long I knew him, I told them I've known him so long I can't even remember how long I've known him. That's a real good sign when you know some friend so long you don't remember how long you've known them. And with that, I would like to introduce my very personal good friend from Los Angeles, California, Bob B.
My name is Bob, and I'm an addict. How you like your new title? Billington Coordinator. That's better than what they used to call you. This is nice. This is beautiful. You're not so quiet. We'll see if we can change that. Let's turn the music up high and let's get the show on the road. I was just thinking about, what do you talk about? You say, this is basically you talk about, from where you came and what happened and and what's happening today. And basically that's probably what I'm going to stick pretty much to because that's what I know the most about. I've learned many things along in the journey of getting here. I'm just thinking, like tomorrow I have a birthday. And it's not my other birthday. It's my natal birthday. One of the things you have to do, you have to stay around here. You have to get a year older. Maybe deeper in debt, but you got to get a year older. And I've managed to do all of that too. But that's part of the process, that I think one of the things that happens to many of us as we're growing up, we develop this here character that we don't know that we're going to become an addict. But we have all the necessary tools and necessary circumstances that will get us here. To start off briefly, I was born before the Depression. Now, I want to give you a time fix. During Prohibition, in a family of one parent families, in Cleveland, Ohio. And Cleveland was the butt of many jokes. A place not to grow up in, a place not to go visit, not to be from, or to be about. But I didn't think of that when I was growing up. Most kids don't think of those things when they're growing up. Most kids are looking for certain things. And I was not different from in that particular thing. I wanted to be cared for. I wanted to be nurtured. I wanted to be loved. I wanted, the beans on the table and a roof over my head. Sometimes didn't care about those, but you always wanted something to eat, And sometimes food came hard, We wanted welfare families. But I was always a needy kid needing attention. And I never did get the attention. I was always hollering, Mom! Bob, over here. Mom! When you got other sisters and brothers that are calling for attention, you don't get the attention you want. So you do a lot of strange shit, Some of us fall out on the floor and kick and holler and scream. Some of us learn how to bleed. Some of us learn how to hold our breath until we almost pass out. We learn how to get into things or break things in order to get some attention. A good ass whipping, I come to find out, was better than no attention at all. So I got a lot of them. And she was willing to give them out. It may have been okay, perhaps, as you say, when I think about it, if it was tempered with some kind of a expression as to what did I do now. Sometimes I didn't even know what I did, and I still got to answer it. You know, I found it to her displeasure many times, or her frustration, or her anger. And one of the things I come to find out, and I had to wait till I come to narcotics. Now, one thing was missing, and I spent many years chasing for years, looking for one substance or one thing, and that was called love. And it never dawned upon me. I never thought about it. It was not something that you would, a kid growing up, and say, I'm looking for love. I'm looking for love. I was looking for attention, and I couldn't tell you, why I was looking for attention, but I just needed it because I didn't feel that closeness and that nurturing and that mother or parent. It don't necessarily have to be mother. I give Pops too much of a play because he wasn't even there at all. But it was always that in the back of my head, where are you? It was kind of song, where are you, and he was never there. So I was all, Mom could take the brunt of everything. Everything that happened, Mom took the brunt of it, If only you done this and didn't do that, If circumstances were different and other things happened, and if this and then if. I always point my fingers at everybody, for my discomfort. Only if. So most of us, if you're like me, we carried this bag of shit around for years. And we stuffed more shit in it and more shit in it till that something overflowed. And we just run through life, stuffing that bag full of shit and blaming you and blaming the world for my circumstances. Because you were the reason for this happening to me. Or you were the reason for me feeling this way. And I, blamed everybody. Most addicts I know are fairly bright in many ways because they in some ways had to be in order to survive. And they had to be sharp in some areas. They had to be, get down with the con. And we learn it, so we start, learning how to manipulate the system early. And we start at the family. We start manipulating the family, cry when you shouldn't cry or get into things when you shouldn't get. Some kind of way we manipulate things around us. But I was learning a lot of bad habit patterns along the way. One of them, I learned how to lie real early. Lying I thought was necessary. Mom done it. She's always telling me, tell them that I'm not here. Tell them I don't have them. Tell them this, tell them that, tell them that. Hey, I learned how to lie early. It seemed to work out okay. So I was going to use that, to the extreme. I come to find out most things I'd done was to the extreme. But I'm building character. At least I thought that's what I was doing. Building character. Because many times, you get the plaudits or get the pat on the head, nice kid, good kid, do the right things, kid, and that kind of thing. And then you get the other side of it and you get all the other shit that you can get into. I don't know what I'm going to do with him. I'm going to have to lock him up or send him away or something. I just don't know because I set things on fire, because I used to like to see the fire wagon come, shit. There's some excitement in my life, shit, burn something down. Yeah. And it was kind of one of these things that you play with, one of the things you play with, I lived in my head a lot. I was always fantasized. I always wanted to be somewhere else. One of the things I talk about, never giving Pops none of this here blame because he wasn't there to give the blame. But in my head, where are you, Pops? Shit. Nowhere around. Seen him twice. Got a nickel one time and a quarter the next time and a goodbye. That's it. But I didn't blame him for none of the shit that was going on, My house was in chaos very often. School was not no big thing because I learned how to play a game in school. I know how to play a game in school. Give the teacher what she wants. And butter it up a little bit, polish it up a little bit, bring her an apple or something, and be the good kid while you're in front of her. Huh? And do enough to scam through. Huh? Just enough to get back. I didn't know that's what I always did, but that's all what I always did. I developed a process of shortcutting things. I'm only going to give you just enough. Just enough, No more. So I was always playing this little game, of getting by or getting over. I was an avid reader because that was a great means of escape, even as a little kid. I don't care what kind of book it was. Bob could get inside of a book and disappear. Took wide trips all over the world. Had great adventure. In my head, I fantasized every move or every act or everything that was explained that Bob became, or stored it away. I'm going to do that when I can do that. Or I'm going to participate in that when I can participate in that. And so I traveled all over the world before I left home. And most of it was in the shitter, because that's where I could get isolated. I found that was my cubicle of isolation, a place of silence. Nobody bothered unless somebody had to take a shit or something, they'd beat on the door. Go on. But I could stay in there a long time, and I could get involved in whatever I could get involved. It used to become my playroom, in a sense of speaking, because that was my escape room. Yeah. And I haven't started using anything. I'm using fantasy, caught up in fantasy. My first addiction was stealing. Love to steal your shit. Boy, I got adrenaline rush. You hear about adrenaline highs as a kid. I get there used to, got away. Turned the corner. They didn't catch me. I got some things to share with my partners. And then it made me feel good. I pat me on the back. Hey, they pat me on the back. All right, Bobby got some shit, It wasn't nothing but some trinkets. We didn't run through some dime store or something and snatch a whole load of stuff in a bag and run off with it, And the man chases and can't catch us, and you get a great escape, and panting, we didn't beat him. Yeah. So you get that adrenaline rush, you got away with something. The same thing, you just elevate that a step further. You start grabbing bigger and better things, you learn how to start breaking into places and stealing people's shit and jumping out of windows and playing cops and robbers. Sounds good to me. And when you're not caught, you think you got a license or you slicker than the world. My role models were the joker standing on the corner. In my neighborhood, that was the brightest spot we knew of, the joker standing on the corner, because nobody else wasn't nothing happening. Most of us were all on welfare, and we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, So that wasn't the case of having who's the role model, not in the house. Wasn't there. So the joker standing on the corner under the bright light, the lights flashing on and off, and it looked good, Oh, that joker, he laughing loud and, and talking to the hoes on the street and got the Cadillac parked at the curb. Shoot, looked good to me. And I wanted some of that. Yeah, I fantasized like, hey, that's what's happening. That's what's happening. Eh? I didn't know about the bright lights. The bright lights shining on a greasy mop and everything. You say, looks good. Till the sunshine shines on it, and you find out how really bad it looked. But initially, standing out there on that corner, you take a Panama straw and a white suit and shoes that's just glistening. Don't have to have no soles in it, but it got a hell of a top on it, shining like a motherfucker. Suit, the same suit he wore yesterday is the same one he got on today. And he slept at the Cadillac because the Cadillac didn't move. And he could jump out of it every day because it parked there all day long and talk shit to all those that came by because it was a place to rest and sit down. But it sounded, he had that kind of deep voice like, like everything was just fine. I didn't know he didn't have anything. And he'd get high, and he could coast good, and he could lean, and he could rock, and he just looks cool. He looked cool, man. That Joe could sure look cool, So that's kind of role model. Like, I want to be just like Joe. Shit, he's doing it, baby. Because I thought he was having a good time. So you go through life, doing all this pretense. And that's the same way as I say I got through school. It was kind of doing that pretense like I wasn't a dumb kid. I just could not concentrate on what's going on there. And I found out if I could get away with as little as possible, get away with it. And that's how I got through school. I was polishing the apple. Teacher, who will volunteer? Bob, volunteer for the teacher. Like, oh, yeah, I'll run. I'll clean the blackboard. I'll monitor the hall, whatever. It helps you get a good grade. A very compliant young man. It was just a case of it, say that was 2 different characters at any given time. I could play either role. I was the good kid or the bad kid. Which role do I need to play at any given time? And very often it said, One of them was more exciting. The one of being the bad kid was the exciting one. You know, the way you get away. You used to cross the corner. It's the 79th and Kinsman, if anybody that know Cleveland. It's out in the slums, but that was the corner that when you got across that, you know, you changed your demeanor, your whole personality. You had a personality change, you know. Hat change, you know, hat spin around backward, shirt tail come out. You start dragging a leg. You light up that cigarette, and you start talking shit. Huh? You have arrived. And you become one of the fellas. Huh? And what are we going to get in today? Don't make no difference with me. Huh? And I wasn't one of these kids that say without front leading the pack. Bob was on the rear bringing up the rear. He was a good follower. I want to see how deep you're going to get in. See, I was smart enough not to run out on the forefront. You know, I'm going to check on the back end on here and see. I'm going to bring up the rear. I'm going to protect the rear, fellas. You know, I just want to see what you're going to get into so I can turn around and go. Because I knew there was a line, you know, that I didn't want to cross. It was the same thing, you know, being the good kid was the other thing. I was a Boy Scout. I was kind of like the playground leader. You know, I'd done all those kind of things, you know, like had the women, you know, the people in the neighborhood telling, I want you to be just like Bobby. Shit, he's a good kid. You know, so I do things, you know. I wash your windows and run errands for you. And yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, you know, and be a dutiful kid, you know. But it's just the personality changes wherever I was, that had that personality change that went on, you know. And I almost didn't know which character I wanted to be at any given time. But I knew I was uncomfortable where I was. My discomforts laid in where I lived. There was 4 other brothers and sisters that got the attention that Bob was vying for. Bob waving over here. Mama! You want some attention? No. Mom didn't pay me no attention. She whipped me on my ass and said if I got out of line. Yeah. She was good for that. But sometimes I didn't even know how I got a good ass whipping. Yeah? I'd done something that upset her, you know, because she would lay into it, you know. And I told you not to do it, and told you not to do it, told you not to do it, told you not to do it. Do what? You know, it's probably 2 days ago that I done whatever I did, you know. I'm getting that good ass whipping, you know. But it was attention just the same. So, I mean, you know, the thing is, as I said, I'm escaping and I'm doing all this crazy shit, you know. And the occasion where I come to get away from home was World War II. They started drafting people, and I was just about becoming of age at the time of World War II. And so one of my partners was going to get drafted, so I said I'd volunteer to go with him. I do. I found I was going to do a lot of I doing, you know. And that was one of them. You know, I went down and volunteered. Now, I haven't used no drugs yet, but I got to be all the behaviors of a dope fiend. And I'm going to the service, and I'm going to be the conquering hero. I'm going to be Mr. Soldier. Huh? Mr. Soldier. Going out and be the hero and be this and be that. Something I knew nothing about, but I was going to be that, you know. I had read about it. I had seen John Wayne or one of them other people, you know, to see them Corregidor or Guam or somewhere. They showed how to be a hero, you know. I kind of found they hadn't been no further than I had. They hadn't been as far as I had, you know. They'd been on the screen as far as they gone, you know. But it was kind of one of these things that, you know, I had some vision of what a hero was going to be like, and I was going to be it. So I went off to the war camp, and before I could finish my basic training, the war ended. Damn, blew my bubble. But I'm going to do whatever I have to do. I'm going to these far places and do these here fine things that they said we could do, you know. But when I went to the camp, war camp, I found out men done different things, especially jokers in the service. Because at the end of the day, what do? Let's have a good time. It was just almost an automatic response. Oh, well, what we're going to have to do tonight, we're going to have to have a good time. What we're going to do? Yeah. How much money you got? I got to have money to have a good time, huh? All right. Let's go down here and start it off by getting something to make us have a good time with. So each event, we introduced to things, because I knew nothing about drinking. I seen drunks, but I didn't know nothing about drinking. Addiction was out of the question. It was just one of them non-subjects and nobody talked about. So my first event with drinking was a bad event. It's called puking and sick and headaches and all this crazy shit that goes on with drinking, So I swore off for a couple of days and say I must have done something wrong. And I'm going to get it right. Get the combination right. That's what my partners told me. They said I just done it the wrong way, But I didn't get the right way anyhow, I found I was waking up in wrong places, and doing a lot of crazy ass shit, because once I found out it removes the feelings. It just blanked the feelings out. No feelings. I like that, I just always went too far. I was always coming to. And we always set out to have a good time. And I didn't like that coming to shit, because I was usually funky and puked on everything, and I had this headache and this hangover, so I swore off of that, at least for the moment. My weed use was the same way. Bad experience. People usually have a bad experience. They leave the shit alone. This is giving them a bad experience. That's what normal people do. Addicts don't do it that way. They say, we got to do it until I get it right. Because we identify with there's a right way to do this thing. We didn't talk about all the madness that goes on in between. It's just a right way, because somewhere along the way we got some delusion that it's going to fix everything. And in some way, it did. It fixed me in terms that allowed me to associate with the world around me without these here feelings always welling up that I didn't know what to do with. These emotions that kept welling up that I didn't know what to do with. I was having strange happenings, that I didn't know what to do with. And I found when I put something in my body, ingest something in my body, the feelings, just blanked them out, like, wow, where have you been, And it was the same thing when I first used heroin. It was the same thing. Bad experience. Puke for days, But it didn't blur me out, I could see things, I was loaded, but, it kind of like allowed me to function, and it didn't stink, and it, it just had a certain aura about it that was mysterious, it was underground for real, Because you have to realize, in 1945, they didn't talk about drugs. Drugs was a non-subject. It wasn't talked about. It looked like if it didn't exist, how quiet it was about it. And definitely during those particular times, I'm using heroin, and I don't know what the consequences of this action was going to be. I didn't know nothing about hooked. I knew nothing about a drug habit. I knew nothing about none of these things. And nobody told me about them either. We say, have you got some more? Give me some more. I want some more. Thank you. Huh? They told me about getting hooked was a process within itself. Because when you get hooked, you need to know what you got to do. And one of the things I found out, I was to get a quick education as to what to do. And one of them is don't get too far from the connection. Definitely. That was kind of swore upon everybody that don't get too far from the connection. And that's what I set out to do for the next 10 or 12 years. Don't get too far from the connection. Now, I'm in the military. Now, I found out there was a lot of substitutions that go around. The military had a lot of morphine. It was during a period of time where they was dispensing morphine in a lot of different areas. And Bob being a thief, and the military having a lot of shit to sell, Bob was in business. No problem. But then one day they snatched me up and put me on orders and put me on a transport and moved me and didn't take the connection with it. Now I'm in trouble. So I have to improvise. And you improvise with anything that's available, that you won't be sick for a hot minute until you can get whatever you can get. So I was to spend this time here trying to make this here thing work some kind of way. This addiction was kicking my ass, And the progression, I knew nothing about progression of no disease. Nobody talked about drug addiction. Nobody knew nothing about drug addiction. There was no information. My partners could tell me too much that you just get hooked. They ain't tell me about how this here disease was going to progress, how crazy it was going to be. They ain't tell me about to get into a position of becoming terminal. Over time, it becomes terminal. Nobody told me about none of this good shit, you know. And I'm stumbling through, and as I say, I was in the military, and I had, some positions that kept me out of the limelight, where I wasn't on the front line being watched at all moments, and I had some kind of liberty to do a lot of things that normally you don't have to do. And I stayed out of the country 9 years in the process, because I could do it over there, but I couldn't do it here. I can do a lot of weird shit over there, see? And me being in transportation most of the time, I always had transportation to do what I had to do. So I was able to function in that manner. And I functioned at a pretty high standard, so I didn't have a problem. My records proved that I didn't have a problem. Just because I got a few court-martials, I was a good soldier. And the offset of doing these things was being a good soldier. See, I could huff 2 or 3 and polish brass like a mother, Yeah? It gave me some brownie points, in my status. It gave me some brown. He's a good soldier. Just find him, slap him on the hand, take a couple of stripes away from him, and let him stay there, But this disease reaches progression that it becomes terminal. That everybody know you got a problem. People are telling you, some of your superiors telling you, say, you're something wrong, you got a problem. I ain't got no problem. Just get out of my face. I ain't got no problem. Yeah. Don't hinder me doing what I have to do to get well. I don't have a problem. But this here thing reaches such proportion that you do a lot of strange shit. Things that you never thought you would do. You're snatching and grabbing and running and ripping and running over people and not talking about taking care of anything. You ain't taking care of shit. You're like running in a place, double timing in place. Nothing happening, not going nowhere. And this here monster just kicking your ass. You don't know what to do about it. Because you not admitting that you got a problem. But it reaches the point where it becomes obvious to all those around you that you got a problem. And it became obvious to the military that I had a problem, and they started watching me, and they caught up with me because I was doing a lot of weird shit. They caught me transporting and possession of drugs on a military base. They frowned. Oh, they frowned. They done another thing that locked my ass up too, But they introduced me to start doing time. And time became a comfortable place in a sense. But only one problem is that they put you out on the street and tell you to make it. And I had talked to psychiatrists and psychologists, and we would sit down in great sessions and talk about the problem that they thought I had. And I had all the answers as to what I had to do about it. And so they could not help me. And there was not a lot of places they could go for to get help. They had one place in Lexington and a place in Fort Worth that they had sent addicts to, but that was all they had going for them. And I was still part of the military thing, and I had to do some time for them. And they put me out on the street, with my bad discharge, with the attitude that I can't cope. And the first thing I did was say, I'm going to change locations and change where I live, So, being one that don't like cold, addicts that have to hustle in the cold is in bad shape. I'm sorry, folks. Y'all know it. And if you go back to Cleveland where the snow get asshole deep, you damn sure don't want to be hustling no drugs out there in the street. So I wasn't going back there. So my first thing is I'm going to be sharp. I don't know nobody in California. And I don't know why I thought California was going to be any different than anywhere else. I'm going to California, and I'm going to get my shit together. Not that I knew what my shit was, but I'm going to get it together. So I've journeyed to California, and I tried 2 or 3 places in California. I checked the weather out in all of them. I went to Northern California, it was too cold or too wet. I went out to Sacramento, it was too hot. I said, let me go to Los Angeles. I don't know nobody down there, and I haven't been in the country in a long time. I'm going down here and get me a new start. I got me a new start. Dope fiends are used all over the world. Run into a dope fiend somewhere all over the world. It don't make no difference. Because I learned how to get drugs all over the world with no language problem. I was telling Jody today, you know, I done lived in a lot of countries, and I can't speak none of the languages. I know how to beg for shit and ask for stuff. That's it. The rest of it, I mean, a decent conversation was not existing, you know, as far as I'm concerned. So I was always a case of, making do. And I don't know why I thought coming into Los Angeles was going to make me okay. Because one of the first people I seen on the street, on the stroll, you know I looked for the stroll, huh? Well, the partner I left in Korea, we had been using in Korea, and the first thing we do is say, "Hey, baby, what's happening?" He said, "I know where they got it good." "You got any money?" "Yeah, I can feel pretty good." He said, "Come on and go with me. Have one for old time's sake." And it was a continuation of that old time's sake for the next 3 or 4 years. And I told you I was always looking for mama, and I was always able to capture a mother that was looking for a son. And Bob was always a willing volunteer. Huh? Very often I chose not too wisely. I chose a shooting partner, and that's a bad extension for mama as a shooting partner. Because she wasn't there when you got out of them places, or she wouldn't be there when you needed her, and she wouldn't run for you, and she didn't write you, and all that good shit. But you learn what to pick, you know. You pick one that got a job, got a place to live, got maybe a little reputation or whatever, that can help take care of you. And we beg pretty good. Huh? We can get down when we're talking about being a kid, doing a baby act. We can get down. We can cry and moan and whine and shit, you know. And somebody feels sorry for you. There's a lot of mothers out there looking for a son to take care of. And Bob was a volunteer. Shit, I don't have to pay no rent, you know, and don't have to work, and you're going to go to work every day and let me play in the street? Right on. Volunteer, baby. Yeah. And so what happened was, I've chose this one lady that told me that she's going to help me get my shit together. She knew nothing, so she wasn't suspecting of nothing because she knew nothing about drug addicts. And I looked decent enough at the time to be passable as that I could be of some fun or some consequences, or be of some joy, a player, or you know, like we think we're a player, you know. Sorry, you being pimped most of the time, but that's okay if you get what you want. And that's what I was getting. I was looking for something. One day I needed something. I need somebody to take care of me. And let me play in the street. Because I can't do both. I can't take care of myself and take care of a habit. So I was going to jail continually. It was always a case of me begging in somewhere with some unsuspecting woman saying, "Let me take care of you, let me help you." So how I got to Narcotics Anonymous was through one of these here ventures. This young lady came up to the visiting screen in the county jail, and she made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. We got to get married. No problem. I do. Said, just go get the license, go get the papers, go pay the lawyer, go do what you got to do. I do. Shit. Next couple of years, I like to run the lady crazy. I'd come home, you know, one day and go out to get a loaf of bread and be gone 6 months, you know. Call her from distant places and telling her sad stories, you know. Like the world was against me. I was a poor veteran that having problems, and that nobody seemed to care. And won't you help me, won't you help me, won't you help me? For 2 years she ran. She ran like a racehorse, you know. Well, she didn't know anything about a dope fiend. She didn't know the journey she was on. But people that don't have our problem, when they get into pain or get into situations, they only go so far with it before they say, "Help!" We don't know how to ask for help. We have to be laying flat on our back with a foot on our neck to holler. That's the only time we holler help. Last gaspers, yeah. Done that one many times, you know. Come out of one of them good ODs, you know, And the first thing we talking about, people would normally say, "Well, I'm gonna have to stop that, or I'm gonna surrender." Our first response is, "Boy, that was some good shit." Ooh, wonder if any more. I understand that, though. I understand that because I've been in that spot more than once. I understand to say that kind of condition of everything's okay when you're damn near dead. Huh? You just come to. You just open your eyes out of an OD and you say, "Wow, boy, the most peace you've had in years, the most comfort that you've had in years, in your whole soul." You say so encompassing that everything. You say really being okay, nothing happening, but everything's okay. Everything's okay. But we haven't been checked out yet, so we got to come back and face the world. All the shit around it, we got to face up here. Hot damn, didn't make it that time. What did I got to do now? Either go to jail or go get something to get well with, or whatever the case may be. But this lady here, in her search for some peace, or her search for some trying to find out what this here monster she would grab hold of, she found a bunch of sisters called Al-Noners. And they told her to put the sucker out. And we've played that game before. You got to go, you got to go, you got to go. But something at one time, along the way, she said that, that made sense was you got to get some help, and said, "I'm going to try to help you get some help." Now, in 1959, there wasn't a whole lot of places to go to help. So I got an application for Lexington. I folded it up and stuck it in my back pocket. So when I went to jail, I could tell the judge that I was trying to get some help. That I had now applied to Lexington, and I was waiting for their petition for me to go in. As I ripped and ran and snatched and grabbed and be as good a thief as I could be. But this lady's, in the process, they told her about this thing called Narcotics Anonymous. Now, how's the chances, there's only one meeting in the world, she go find it. So when she find it, I told you in 1959, you didn't say nothing about narcotic nothing unless it was under protective, no eavesdroppers around. Because in the words of narcotics were spoken, you think police jumping out of trees on you and shit, Because that's the way they used to treat addicts, You're talking about treat addicts bad. They used to treat addicts bad, It was almost going to have you shot an addict today in the police department. And they would shoot an addict, and you get 2 lines in the newspaper. Addict running down the alley with a TV, shot in the back. That was it. We heard no more about it. So it was kind of really difficult. You're talking about somebody getting some treatment. She said, "We got to find you some help. I don't know where we're going to find it." And they told her about this thing called Narcotics Anonymous. She said, "You ever heard of narcotics?" I ain't heard of narcotic nothing. I didn't talk about no narcotics. It's not that way. If you ain't going to give me some, I don't want to talk about it, So she told me about this thing called Narcotics Anonymous. As far as I'm concerned, it was in a foreign country. Because it was further than I was usually going. It was called Over the Hill. Like the mountains, like y'all talking about going over the pass. It was over the pass. But I ain't going over the pass. I ain't got nothing to do over the pass. There ain't no way to get there. Didn't have no car, In the car that we rode in, wouldn't make it that far. We had them $50 cars. Put gas in it every 2 or 3 miles. Pump up the tire where you can get some air. Put some used oil in it. And about 10 of you get in it, and cruise. We hustling though. We're hustlers, running in markets and things, snatching and grabbing, steaks and cigarettes and zuzus and wham-whams, anything we can sell, shit. But we thieves, we big time thieves, Our big sting. So what happened was, talking about addicts, he said the thing that happened here was she went over here and I told her to go check this thing out called Narcotics Anonymous. Because it was her idea. So I sent her over the hill to check this thing called out Narcotics Anonymous, you know. So she went over there and checked it out and said they were sitting around tables resolving problems of what's your problem today? And Jimmy and a few other people were sitting around a table, and they had nodding acquaintances, and half of them was loaded, you know, and they were talking about who got a problem and how can we help. So I thought maybe I could help them. Because they looked like they needed some help. And my worldly travel and great knowledge about drugs, I could help them. And usually what I got was, keep coming back, Bob. But I would usually get me a short dog. For those who don't know what a short dog is, a half a pint. You know, and you should take about half of that so you can get loose when you get down there, wherever you're going, so your mouth can get to flapping. You know. Who got a problem? Bob had always had a problem. You know. Just getting there was usually a problem. I didn't have a job, didn't have no money, needed a new old lady that wasn't going to keep on my back. You know, gimme, can't you help me? And they said, keep coming back, Bob. Keep coming back, Bob. And they would go to jail. They come visit me when I get locked up and they ask me, do I want to do this thing called recovery? I said, of course. Yes. You know, when we get locked down, we have all the great plans of what we're going to do for the rest of our life. Huh? And something happened at the gate. We lose the plan. So we have to go regroup. And usually the regrouping is going to old places and old faces and have a little taste. And no given time that I ever set out to become hooked or addicted to anything. Every time I used, I was going to get strung out. I want to get to running fast. I want to get to acting crazy and acting a fool, playing cops and robbers and all this other crazy shit we do. Until it becomes a thing where it becomes terminal. And one of the things about coming to Narcotics Anonymous, they read this here thing called the 12 Steps. They read about recovery. They talk about recovery. Even when they didn't know nothing about recovery, they talked about recovery. But they were trying. They were acting as if they knew. And they were trying to get information of how to do this thing called recovery, how to do the steps. And I didn't give, initially I didn't even give the steps any validity at all. I didn't think they would work for me anyhow. My case was different and you didn't understand. You haven't been to places I've been and been under the shit I've been, so you don't know. You know. And that was part of how, and those steps don't work like that. I need to change them. And I went about the business of trying to change them. I wanted to take the commas out and the periods and shift them around, remove a few steps and make them compatible to me. Not that I was going to do them then. I was always altering things. Always wanted to change. Addicts like to change shit. You know, they don't know where it's going to take them, but they want to change it. Had no experience about recovery, so I'm going to talk about recovery. I'm amazed at times when say a person come around, we got 30, 40 days, talk about, oh, I'm in recovery, I got it. Oh, no shit. I'm still trying to get it. This is a long process. Recovery is a long process. It don't just happen in a day, but we got to get on about the journey. It's about the journey. We have to become willing to do some things. And one of the things is we come around here long enough, it removes our excuses for not doing it. It gives us a formula to use for recovery. That's what it's about. The 12 steps of a formula, a very exacting formula that works. And you don't have to believe it'll work and it'll still work. Amazing. And that's the strangeness of it. It works and you don't have to believe it. It just works. Just do it. But you must do it exactly as is suggested. It'll work. When you work at half-ass, it'll still work. Huh? You might not get a finished product, but you'll get something better than you had. I just found out the willingness to do it to the best of my ability initially. Said, I'll try this one, but I ain't going to try that one. Huh? And just on the journey of being that much, you know, with all the contempt I had about these steps working, it worked when I give it a little substance, give it a little of me, give it a little thing, maybe a change if I do something, and find out it works still. Even in my stubbornness, it still works some. It gave me a glimmer of hope and a little light. And many of us have to travel this here journey in many different ways. I was a bad person. I'm a bad person for parole because my mouth get to running and talking shit to parole officers. You know. They'll lock your dead ass up when they hear you fuck around. I found that out, you know. I had to go to jail to find out there was a guy. Amazing, huh? And when I compare it to all the great peoples of the world that went to prison, they become great sages of the time. I try to classify me. Yeah, he went to jail to have a spiritual awakening. But I did have a spiritual awakening being locked up. Strange, huh? But they had to slow me down enough for it to catch up with me. Because I'm one of these people that when things start to get looking good or feeling good, I get to running fast. Don't have to use nothing. Bob just get involved. You know, nothing on either side, just straight ahead. Ooh, you know. Just practice that insanity straight on down the line, you know. Don't have to have nothing in me, you know. Feel good, taste good, look good, Bob's after it. Whoa, you know. Here come Bob, you know. Even when it gets painful, sometimes I don't know when to let go. So it was necessary for me in order to have this transition or this revelation by getting locked down. As I was telling you about earlier, I had been around Narcotics Anonymous enough time and long enough to get some information that I could use. That they give me, while I'm trying to do this here parole bit, they give me some books and some pamphlets and how to lead a meeting and all this stuff, and I could put it to work inside. And I come to find out that all the people that I thought that ran things didn't run shit. Amazing, isn't it? You are not in charge. They're not in charge. Damn, I didn't know that. And I've discovered that but I was really on a journey then. Huh? I found out the power of prayer. Oh man, did I misuse that one? I prayed up on shit I couldn't handle. Had another prayer to have to say, take it away. I can't handle that one. Yeah. I found out, hey, learn how to bake good, you know, learn how to have that petition of things I wanted. Or we set a train of thought and actions to go along with it. We don't know when we start praying for things, we set a thing in action. We set a process in motion. My prayers today is help. I ain't got to explain it. Yeah. No, I need all the help I can get. But I misuse shit. You know? So I have to be very vigilant about the things that I do, how I ask for things. Well, many of us are say prayers for things that we don't know what the consequences of those prayers are. It starts out in our head as fun and games. All right, baby, give it to me. I can handle it. Well, I can handle the consequences that go with it. Huh? I know you tell yourself those lies. I know I did. And I see you, and I know that you do too. See? But what happened here is I had this revelation that there was a power that ran the universe. It had no particular religion or place or cubbyhole or no labels to be put on it. And I only call it God because that's the way I identify it. My God don't have too big to be sitting off in any little edifices or surroundings or caves or holes or none of that stuff, He runs it all. Too big for that. And so if he runs it all, I'm going to give it to him to run. Even to the point of, here I am. What do I do now? Huh? And sometimes not willing to do anything but knowing that I have to get into some kind of action. That's why it's usually good to have a sponsor to tell you, say, man, you need to do this. I had a parole officer that always told me what to do. Hey, you get a job. Once you're done for 30 days, I want you to have a job. I want you off the street. I want you not hustling money. I want you not being doing this. And I don't want you to go to them NA meetings either. I told him, shit, he got to be crazy. Shit, I'm going to the NA meeting. Only way I'm staying out here. He said, I'll lock you up. Said, you got to do what you got to do. So he locked me up. But he didn't know that the power of the bees was going to put me back on the street. Huh? He had people out there was going to bat that said he'd never seen or never heard of. I hadn't either. People came in my defense. I don't know where they came from. I couldn't even put them together if I had to try to draw up the plan. It was convening boards and shit, like, where did they come from? Who got that power, And it made me come to believe that there was a power that ran the universe. And I had to do what I had to do for the betterment of all in order for me to come in harmony with this power that is available to everyone. I'm not picked out and say I'm the only one this here is going to get this here grace. Because I have to say, my God, as I understand him, have been merciful with me for the shit that I've been done. And sometimes we think that we got a price to pay. Yes, we have a price to pay. And I think of this journey that we are on, this journey called recovery. It's worthwhile. And it's not what we usually think it is. We always very often think it's a labor of some kind of labor or some futility. Why do it? There ain't nothing going to happen. That's not so. I come to find out the God of my understanding wants the very best for me. He wants the very best for everybody. He wants them to learn how to live and enjoy life. That's amazing. That's all I ever wanted in the first place. And I thought I had to seek it by some other means. Somebody had to titillate and tickle me or give me some enjoyment and make it okay. That's all my God wants is the very best for me. Sometime I want to mess it up because I think it should be another way, and I want to do it my way because I still got that in me. I got that thing called addict in me. Want to change shit. I don't like it that way, so I want to change it. Not asking others if that's the way it's supposed to be done, or ask them some direction in a thing called living, because I knew nothing about living. I had never taken care of myself. Before I got clean, I never paid a telephone bill, paid rent. Had to learn how to work. Not that I didn't have some trades. I had 2 or 3 trades. But I didn't know how to work. I didn't know how to stay on the job. A job requires you stay there and put out and produce for whoever you're working for. Bob didn't know how to do that. Bob could get a job. Bob stayed 3 or 4 hours and said if he's using, hey, whatever I can steal or whatever moves gone. I ain't gonna be there long. So I didn't know how to stay on the job. And once I got clean, I had to learn how to work. I didn't know how to work. I could stand out there and I was a mechanic. I'd polish that motherfucker for days. Job's supposed to have been out yesterday. Bob's still out there polishing it. They finished it 2 days ago. Bob's still polishing it. Oh, don't that look good? Oh, man, don't want it to look good. He want it over and he wants you doing another one. So he wants to be fireman. I had let him know. I didn't know, He knew I was on parole. But that didn't help. He said, I can't pay you the money I'm paying you for the job that you're doing. What's wrong with that? He said, everybody else is getting out 2 and 3 units a day and you got 1. And you stand out there polishing, you finished it yesterday. He said, I got 2 more out there on the line you're supposed to get. Oh! I thought it was beautiful. I thought I was performing. Didn't it look good? Shit, damn, baby. Look at the shine on that motherfucker. Runs good, don't you? Listen to it. Oh, shit, damn. You want to hear all that shit? You say, I want 2 more units out there, shit. If I got to pay you. So I have to learn how to become humble and tell him, I said, I don't know. I'm going to try to do better, but you have to help me how to do better. He showed me how to do better. A little lesser pay, but he showed me how to do better. But it was just one of those things that we find on this journey what we have to do. We learn how to grow up. We learn how to reach out to people. We learn how to do this thing called love. We don't know nothing about love. I know nothing about love. My thing is taking off love, take her to bed, is love. I know how to play that role. You know, a lot of disappointments along the way, but I still know how to play that role. I was still trying to make love. I thought that's what love was all about. I learned about caring for people, learning about have feelings for people. Have feelings. For men and women, have feelings. Have a closeness and a kinship, an intimacy that goes on in our everyday living. I knew nothing about that. I didn't have it at home. My brothers and sisters didn't relay these types of things. We didn't touch. We didn't touch. Me and my brother slept in the same bed for years. We couldn't stand each other getting his cold feet on each other without getting hostile. You know, want to jump on each other. We never did hug. Never did say, I care for you. Mom never told it anyhow. I didn't hear I love you until after I left home. And then it was in a letter, at the end of the letter said, love Mom. That's it. I didn't come to find out, never thought about that maybe she had a tough time too. And come to find out, I already knew, but I never thought about it. She lost her mother when she was 4 years old. What a loss. What a loss. So she didn't get this nurturing and this love either. So she couldn't give it out. Deprived, you know. But that's who I blame, moms. Moms, you were available. You should have done different. You should have knew how. You should have got the instruction manual out and learned how to raise kids. So I was always blaming moms. My brother took it to the grave. He blamed her till he went to the grave. Mom had to cut that motherfucking loose and done thus and so. And they had been dead 5 or 6 years, and he was still carrying that one around. Say, wow, shit, baby. You're still carrying that one around. And I understand about resentments. You carry these resentments around. They have no substance to them. But we carry them around anyhow. We've got no place to throw it. There's no place to get rid of. This is the place that we can rid ourselves of a lot of that craziness and that insanity. We get together with each other and see how somebody else done it. See, I have some experience of how to get rid of a lot of the hostility and the anger and a lot of the things that I do. I also I've been in this therapy, you know. In one place, you say I was training to be one, you know. And so I had to go in to do all them things at therapists and go in and be analyzed and psychoanalyzed and all this other good shit, you know, to find out who I really am in some ways. But I'm kind of getting familiar with who I am and what makes me tick. And when I learn more about me, I know more about you. Because you are a mirror of me. And I see me, you, and you so often. I see you in my actions, in the things that I have done or will do, or the things that I'm doing right now, and I see you doing them. And sometimes I have to reach out and halt you for a moment and say, don't do that. Don't step off into that hole. But if you're addicts like us, we'll resist that. You know, it's a cliff right there. We don't want to be. Don't save me. I can save myself. Shit. Yeah. Because that's the kind of people we are. We have to know the nature of our disease. Our disease is out to kill us. And it's very patient. And I always say to people with time, you know, don't get too blasé or this here thing of not thinking can't happen to you. We must be very ever vigilant about our recovery. I don't care how long you've been around here. Because our head goes into tripping. We can be clean and our head will get off and trip. These mine will. And I've seen many people that have done the same thing. They get to tripping. They get to thinking that they got this game down called life. They don't have to go to meetings. Don't have to help nobody. Don't have to write about it. Don't have to talk about it because they got their shit together. Don't get all your shit together because you won't know what to do with it after you get it together. That's from experience. I have to be ever vigilant about my recovery on a daily basis. I have to be very watchful and do the things that are necessary in order to keep me here. And many of us get caught up in so many different things after we've been here for a while. We get a way of living that's very enhanced in saying enjoyable and pleasure. And we don't think that can't have no troubles while things are going. My life is beautiful. Look what I got. Everything is just honky-dory, you know. And then some crisis will occur and we don't know where to go or won't go to where we should go because we lost contact with those that can help us. You know, I would suggest to anyone here, if you have not done the steps at least one time in its entirety, in its continuity, and see what happens for you. Not because somebody told you, not because somebody looked like they've done so, thus and so. If you haven't done it for yourself, you haven't done it. And the reason I say that is to say I think we're all looking to have some comfort in our living, some enjoyment in our living, and that's how I've found it, by constant vigilance in my recovery on a regular basis. Doing the things that I know that are necessary for me to have, enhance my living. My life has become richer and richer and richer. I've had the opportunity to see this here program grow from that one meeting to thousands of meetings, literally thousands of meetings, all over the world, not just in California. We're the luckiest mothers in the world. People here can go around the corner and go to a meeting. You got people that have to go 200 or 300 miles to go to a meeting, and they only got one. I was up near the North Pole just last year. Or was it this year? I don't forget when it was, but it's okay. They got one meeting up near the North Pole. About six people that meet on a regular basis up there in snow asshole deep. They got dog sleds and snowmobiles and caribou. They go to meetings, right? And we get bitching because it's too far to go over there. I don't think I want to go to meeting tonight. Yeah. I want to go around the one around the corner. We're so lucky we got so many choices. We can go so many different places. If we don't like a place with one meeting, we can go to another. Oh, we get spoiled, huh? We got choice. I ain't going to see Joe gonna be there. I ain't going to go there. I'm going to this meeting. Let's flip a coin and see where we're going to go tonight. But this program works. And wherever you might be, be good to yourself, because that's what it's all about. It's trying to learn how to be good to you. And if you learn how to be good to you, you'll be good to all the people that you concern. You start treating others as you would like to be treated. And you start doing better about yourself when you start thinking better about yourself. It's surprising when we start thinking better about ourselves, we start treating ourselves better. It's amazing. But we have to build that esteem that you're a worthwhile person and you're worthwhile saving and you're worthwhile enjoying this life that has been given to us, regardless of what the circumstances may be. I know many of you are suffering with some of these here illnesses that many of us have. I have both of them. I mean, I got hepatitis C and cancer, but I only live one day at a time. That's all I got. I got up this morning and hit the floor and went and took me a good piss and shit. The day is on. Shit. That's all we have. Because I see, sometimes we try to live too far ahead of ourselves and we just miss the moment. Enjoy the moment, because that's what we have. I want to thank you for having me, being a part of this here thing, Pacific Northwest and up in the mountain, the beautiful mountains and things up here. I just can't stand the wet, folks. I like the area, but I can't stand the wet. I've been spoiled. I've been, as I say, a lot of places around the world, and I'm just thrilled to get back to California, Southern California. I have to make that difference. It's a difference, distinguishing difference. But I'm just thrilled to death. I don't care all the places I've been. I'm glad to get back to Southern California, because that's where my family is in terms of the family that I have are developed here in these rooms. My brothers and sisters are in these rooms. I have more interaction and things going on with the people here than I have at my maternal family. And they don't, hey, they're just not hooked up. And they don't want to be hooked up. The best I can do is show them a little love and a little caring, that I still care about them, but I can't do nothing for them. So keep coming back until we get to know each other. And if I forget your name, don't hold that against me, because I forget everybody's name. Unless we are to have become very close in our action, our everyday action, I'll get to know you and then I'll remember your name over long periods of time. But I'm getting a little, my thinking was shaky. When you get on the downhill side of life, a lot of things happen. You know, I call it on the downhill side. I'm way on the downhill side. But I'm still here and I'm still living and still enjoying it. And so I'm going to try to enjoy it for the rest of the time that I have. Thank you.
I've asked our secretary of the ad hoc committee meeting to come up and read just for today, Rachel.